noise. So Michelle, would you like to go ahead and use your unmute to talk about yourself for a minute?
Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm the other naturalist here at Sandy Creek Nature Center. And we're going to have fun today talking about a lot of our virtual programs that we've been doing. So I've been a naturalist for a long time, and it's something that I really enjoy. So yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say, Kate, because I don't like to talk about myself very much.
Well, Michelle doesn't like to talk about herself, but we like to talk about her. So Michelle has lots of great ideas. She's always coming up with something new. And a lot of if you see these kind of off the wall ideas, somehow she comes up with these great things and we make them work. So we're not going to talk about any crazy ideas today, but we are going to share some of our past year's experiences and go over that. And then I'll go ahead and introduce myself a little bit more now. So I am Kate Mowbray. I'm a naturalist here at Sandy Creek Nature Center, and I've been here for 17 years almost. So in June, I'll hit that anniversary, and it doesn't feel like it's been that long. I can't imagine I've worked somewhere for 17 years. If anybody else ever feels that way. But it's been a great learning experience. There's always something new out here. For those of you who don't know where Sandy Creek is, we are in Athens, Georgia, and we are a county-run facility. So we are part of the Athens-Clarke County Leisure Service Department, which has been probably a good thing during all of this past year, that we've had a lot of support from our county organization. And so, they have appreciated our efforts in trying to do things. And when we were shut down, they kind of all had us doing different things from home. So none of us were ever bored, I can say that. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. And I learned something from Rana the other day during her presentation. So we'll do a little waterfall activity, or a rainstorm, as she said. So if you want to open up your chat for just a second, and I want you to type something in, but you're not going to hit send until I say hit send. But what I would like for you to do is, I would like to know, before COVID hit, were you doing any programming virtually? And then along with the yes or no, put if you were doing live or recorded things. So go ahead and type that in. Wait until I hit send, or say send. And just while y'all are typing that in, Christine also put a note in there. If you need certification or proof of attendance, make sure you contact her. Her contact information's in the chat as well. All right, has everybody got it ready? All right, go ahead and hit send. And they're flooding in. Look at that. All right. So it looks like most of you were in the same boat that I was and Michelle was. We had not done this before either. And it's definitely been a learning experience. But before everything hit, we had talked about, what about the possibility of doing a live program on, virtually, or maybe doing some pre-recorded videos. And we were just busy. We never got around to doing it. So we didn't have the equipment. And we just were like, well, one day we'll do it. And then that one day came. So what we're going to talk about during the first part of this is just kind of where we started and how we were able to come up with some of the different virtual programming that we did. And then, like I said, at the end, we're going to do some breakout rooms so we can discuss possible future things with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And hopefully all of this will work. If there's some issue, if something starts freezing, if somebody will just make sure you let me know. All right. And so we call this program Virtual Programs with a Bite, because we will talk about sharks at one point. And I don't know if you saw the little shark jaw behind me over there, but we can talk a little bit about sharks today as well, which we do not have here at Sandy Creek Nature Center. So before the shutdown, just like you guys, we all had a busy spring planned. You can probably see the calendar over there to the right side of the screen. This doesn't even include our school groups that we had scheduled. This was just all the normal spring activities. We may have been hosting other organizations. We have a couple of groups that come out and they're environmentally related. So we kind of let them use the space and we co-host with them. And so that's one of the things we would usually do. We have big events like Snake Day is one of the ones we usually do. And we have just a lot of group programs that like nature trivia. So those are some of the pictures that you see are just past participants. There's always a busy group of people out here. And then everything shut down. And we're like, what are we going to do? At first, it was just a matter of keeping things running. We had to make sure our facility was going to be able to stay, in the best condition. We do have live animals here. Fortunately, ours are fish and reptiles and invertebrates, so not quite the same level of care as places that keep, birds and mammals. So we were a little bit fortunate, but we did have to have somebody come in. But most of us were considered non-essential. So Michelle and I were working from home, and you can't really do a whole lot from home, especially if you don't have the equipment. So the first things we did after we were shut down is just trying to think about, is there a possibility to do anything? So the actual first day we were shut down was St. Patrick's Day. That was when they told us all to go home. And we had a program scheduled that night for adults about snakes, to kind of fit with St. Patty's Day. And so what we decided to do was to offer a Facebook Live program. And I just basically did a snake encounter. I figured that was easy enough. I didn't need any props. I just brought out a couple live snakes and talked about them for about 10 or 15 minutes just to kind of have something to do. We'd also done a story time, I think the Saturday before everything was shut down, that we tried to do virtually as well. But other than that, that was our first experience of doing anything live. And Facebook has been our main way of getting that communication out, just because we've been limited since we didn't really have this set up. We hadn't had any other platforms to use. We're just now getting to the point where we have a YouTube channel for our department. So they didn't want us to even put anything out on YouTube, which made it difficult to put some of these other videos. So only people for Facebook or use Facebook could actually go on and see a lot of these things, which has been a little unfortunate. So since Michelle and I weren't here, the staff that were actually able to come in, they created a couple of videos. Our interns were the first ones to make some pre-recorded videos. And the first one they made was about our gopher tortoise. We have a gopher tortoise named Doris that lives here. And she's the only animal that has a name here at the Nature Center. But she showed how to make Doris's diet. And then she took her out for a walk in the grassy field and just let people watch to give them a feel of what they were missing because they couldn't come out here at the time. So that was kind of where we started. We were very basic, just using our phones. We did have some iPads, but we didn't have a cellular connection at the time. Excuse me. So we weren't able to do that outside unless we were using our own personal equipment to do things. So after about a month or two, I guess beginning of May, we started thinking, all right, well, we had all these things planned, and Snake Day was one of the first ones that we were wanting to maybe try to do something. So that's where we came up with the idea of, thinking of how can we put on an event. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Michelle kind of take over here and talk a little bit about our virtual Snake Day. Let me mute myself.
Okay, so just before we get into what we did virtually, just to give you a little bit of history about how our Snake Day runs. So typically Snake Day is a big, huge event for us. It's one of our largest events that we have here at the Nature Center. We have anywhere from 800 to 1,000 people. Now, for the size of our Nature Center, that's a lot of people. We have lots of live snakes that include venomous and non-venomous snakes. We have other animals that are out here, like some lizards, and usually there's turtles out here. And sometimes there's amphibians. And then we usually have lots of guests from DNR, UGA, lots of local colleges that are around. And we have food trucks, and we have games, and we crafts and guest speakers and all kinds of it's just an exciting day. It's a day that a lot of people look forward to coming out here. And we get people from the local community, but we also get people from the surrounding counties here. And that's very important so that people kind of get a sense of what kind of snakes and reptiles and amphibians that we have around here, because that's what people tend to be frightened of in their local neighborhoods. And obviously most of y'all can relate to that. But we're thinking about it and thinking about how are we going to pull off a virtual Snake Day? I mean, getting to see a snake in somebody's hand and getting to touch a snake and feel of the scales and see the muscles move. That's something that's really like an in-person activity. And it's, are we going to be able to connect with people virtually by doing a virtual Snake Day? And it turns out we did. We had a lot of fun with it. It was a very busy day for us, but well, it's actually a busy week because we started off by doing a little bit every single day leading up to the big event on Saturday. So we had our interns do some videos where they were showing some ways that you could do some crafts, and they would walk through and do like a snake craft or a reptile craft on film, and then we would put it up on Facebook. We read stories. We did some videos before Saturday that a lot of our local snake experts did for us, and they were willing to help us, which was incredible. But I think one of the biggest successes about that day was when we did an expert panel for Snake Day. So we had some people from UGA and DNR and some of the Georgia Herp Society. We had a lot of those people that were there, and I was on the panel as well. And Kate was helping to kind of host it and help to filter questions. And we basically had a bunch of questions that we ask and that the general public ask, and it was a pretty good event because we were talking about local snakes and we were talking about a lot of mythology. And when I say mythology, you know, the myths that snakes will chase you and that there's a whole bunch of water moccasins that live in a lake or a creek and it'll attack you if you cross the creek. So those are the kind of issues that we were addressing, because Snake Day is all about making people just comfortable with snakes. I mean, obviously they're not going to have the passion and love for snakes that we do, but if we can get people to just respect them and not be frightened, then that's a success. And it was actually a really good week, a good event. We even had a snake day contest where we tried to, since the election was going on, we tried to get people to figure out what their favorite venomous snake was and make an election poster for their venomous snake. And this is a young lady who, I think she's the one who won, isn't she, Kate? She was the one who submitted the entry. And it was a lot of fun to get a lot of these submissions through email, and then we were able to put them up on Facebook. So that's kind of how our virtual Snake Day went. And I will tell you, because I don't know if any of you all are similar to me, but it's one of those things that with all of this, we kind of I had to get over being camera shy and not wanting to be on video. And Kate's much better at it than I am, but I tried to do a lot of videos for our Snake Day week, and it was a lot of fun. So it's quite different talking to people virtually than it is in person. But our Snake Day event came, and we got a lot of people who said they enjoyed our event. So do you want so I'll go ahead and start talking about this. Now, this is something that I was really excited about because I love to tell jokes. And the cornier the jokes are, the better they are. And I have some really funny, well, I think that they're funny, really funny jokes that I tell people when we go out on hikes or if we're dealing with animals or anything like that. So during all of this COVID, I felt like it was just a lot of people kind of, it was easy to get depressed. It was easy to get down. It was easy to be upset and annoyed and angry that we couldn't do the things that we were normally wanting to do. And in all we just kept hearing were just negative, through news and through everything else, especially with the election. So I thought, you know what? We need to bring some laughter to everyone. How can we do this? So I like to tell corny nature jokes. So we started a Facebook series and we called it Nature Funnies. And every Friday, this started in September, it was late September that it started. Every Friday, we would post a joke on Facebook that one of us had recorded, or we had a lot of people, a lot of support from the local government employees that would do jokes for us too. And we even had a lot of volunteers that are just of the Nature Center that would that did some jokes for us as well. And the images that you see here, these are great. There's one about a cast iron chef joke, and you can go on Facebook and watch any of these if you want to. There's another one where she, the one below that, with all the sheep or lambs, I can't tell, but she did a lot of puns, and it was really funny. And then in the middle there was a buzzard, a vulture joke, and above was a recycling and vulture joke. And we had a ladder joke, and we had a water joke, and we had tree jokes. And it was so much fun because people really needed to laugh. And we said we were going to have 42 jokes, and I was determined to have 42 jokes. And the reason for that is because 42 is the ultimate answer to everything, if anybody knows that reference. So that's a pretty funny outlet. But anyway, we decided to run the jokes through April Fool's Day. And we just finished that series just recently, but we actually have one of the jokes to show you. And Kate's going to go to the next slide and let you hear one of our lovely corny jokes from this is Lawson Moore, who works for the Trails and Open Space. And you can kind of tell they're very short jokes, and most of them are really ridiculous, but they'll make you laugh. So go ahead, Kate.
Hi, I'm Lawson, and we're here at Trail Creek Trail in Walker Park, and I was looking at the map of all the mountain bike trails, and one of the mountain bikers came by, and she was explaining to me what the different colors meant and what this directional thing meant, and all these symbols, and this, how these symbols relate to the map. She was very helpful. I would go so far as to say she was a real legend.
So those were the jokes. That's a little sample there for you. And I think that really helped people because people were really excited to have a Friday morning joke. We made sure that they were there at 8:30, about 8:35, 8:45 if we had technical difficulties uploading videos. But I think people really enjoyed having a nature funny to start their Friday off with. And we get some good responses back from the jokes about that. So those are some of the ways that we've tried to connect virtually, but Kate has some other ways that she's going to share with us about some of our other big events that we do in the fall.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. So you may have noticed that Lawson kind of chuckled at the end. We often found ourselves cracking ourselves up when we're trying to tell these jokes. And so sometimes Michelle would kind of put a blooper reel on there as well, just to go along with it. So it was something that was fun, and it was definitely a good way to lighten all the situation that was going on. So it was just something different to try. So the next thing that we kind of started was during the summer, a UGA professor had contacted me and said she had a student that was just really loved sharks and was passionate about it and wanted to share information. Never met this student, didn't have any clue exactly what their background was, but he actually was a geology student and was studying fossils and often would talk about shark fossils, and found his passion that way, and including the living ones that we have today. And he just was wanting to do something. And so I was like, well, at that point in the summer, we were still not doing any in-person. We weren't sure what was going to happen in the fall. So what we did is came up with the idea of having him do a series about different shark features. So we'd started in September, and I gave him the option of either coming out to the Nature Center to film, or he could try to do something himself and then submit it to me, and I would see, and we could make edits before we would post it. And I was really impressed by the student because he's, not an education person. He's not an interpretation student. He just has this passion. And I think that just goes to show that in our field, if you have a passion about something, it's going to show. And I thought he did a fantastic job. I really didn't do a lot of edits or tell him to go back and fix things. There's just a few things here and there, but he did a great job. So he did the 3 different ones. I think he was planning to do a 4th one, but I think school kind of got busy here towards the end. He is a senior and is going to graduate this year. So in September, he just kind of did a general introduction about sharks and just kind of getting us a little background information. And I'll show you a clip of that in just a few minutes. In October, we had one about scary sharks that we ended up showing. And then in December, he actually got to go on a trip where he was swimming with sharks. So the picture of the shark that is facing us in the picture there, that actually was him taking the picture, and that shark swam up to him and was like right there in his face. And there was something special about the smile. So I just wanted to share a little clip of his video as well, just because, like I said, this was something that he just kind of was interested in doing. Now, I put a longer clip in here, but we won't watch the whole thing. So I'll kind of start it off, and then I'm going to kind of skip it ahead. So that way you don't have to, I think it's like 2 minutes. So we won't listen to the whole 2 minutes. So we'll start it off here. I keep losing my mouse. There we go.
They use their teeth to grasp their prey, like little fish or smaller sharks. So we call these teeth graspers. They stick their prey with their teeth, kind of like a fork, and then eat them. It's just like how we do. Tiger shark teeth are like knives. Angler shark teeth are like...
Oh, sorry, I was trying to skip ahead and it went away.
I know I have. One time my mom was on the beach for 2 hours in South Carolina, and she found 8 teeth. That's wild, right? That's a lot of teeth. But who knows why sharks mainly only leave their teeth when they die? It's kind of strange, you know? Because dinosaurs leave these really cool bones, and sharks, you know, just leave their teeth. Does anyone know why that's why they do that? Shark teeth are so abundant post-mortem, which means after they die, compared to other parts of their body, because their teeth are made out of dentin, which is a hard calcified tissue that is harder than bone. And then the dentin is surrounded by a hard enamel shell to protect it. So there's the dentin, and then around the dentin is a hard enamel shell. It's kind of like when you go to Dairy Queen and you get the dip cone, because on the outside there's the chocolate, on the inside is ice cream. It's kind of like how the shark teeth are. But
so I kind of cut it off in a weird place on the clip, but I just loved how he used the video features to add the pictures in. I had not known how to do that at that point. And so I thought that was pretty cool that he was able to kind of pop that in there. And he was, using his hands to demonstrate things, or, some of the videos he would hold up biofacts that he could, use to talk about. And, that's things that we have to teach like our interns. So I thought he was a good teacher just naturally and was able to incorporate these things into his videos. And I know I learned a lot about different sharks. So if you like sharks and you're interested in learning more about them, you can definitely go out and check those. They're still on our Facebook page. But he did a really good job. So I was really impressed. And what I would really love if we are able to, if he's still around this summer, he's not sure what he's doing, but he would be a great person to come and do like a program with our camp kids. And he's just I could imagine him being an in-person instructor just based on how he was questioning things in the camera and trying to make it a little bit interactive, even if it's just a one-way screen. So I thought that was really awesome. So let's see, go into the next slide. So that brings us up to our Scary Oozy Slimy Day. So every year, most years, we've skipped a few years every once in a while, but instead of doing a Halloween, a traditional kind of trick or treat event, we like to do something that's a little alternative. And we have something that celebrates all the creepy, crawly, gross things out there in the world that often people dismiss or say, ugh. So instead, we try to celebrate those things and bring light to them. And since we weren't going to be able to do it in person, once again, we found some of the people who normally participate in the event and asked them if they would be interested in doing a video. And so, we had Hampton who did the scary sharks for us, and there's a picture of the goblin shark from his video. We have Dr. Maurice Snook, who is by trade a chemist. He's retired now, but what he does is he typically would go out to schools and do these chemical magic shows. And he'd missed doing it. So he was really anxious to come out, and we're like, well, let's see if we can do a video And we know that our audiences normally don't want to sit at the computer and watch something for an hour, especially with kids. So he had to shorten his show, and we kind of condensed it down and picked out a few more of the exciting things. And there's a picture of the elephant's toothpaste. So if you've ever done that, this was the mega elephant's toothpaste, not quite the ones where they erupt and take over the entire room like some of these videos these days. We had a storyteller that came out. And while she was filming for our Scary Oozy Slimy Day event, we also had her go ahead and film something for one of our programs called Tales on the Porch, where she would it's usually geared towards adult, and she would tell a story, and we'd all gather around and get to check out our log house that's been on the property since the nature center. They moved it here at the beginning of the nature center, but it's actually about a 1790 something. I can't, Randy, something there, he could probably tell you better the age of the house, but it's a really old house, so we like to try to feature it and use it occasionally, and it's a perfect setting for like a story. And then our friends over at Bear Hollow, also here in Athens, a few of them are also part of NAI. They participated by doing a few animal encounters. And I think the picture there is one from Nocturnal Animals. So they were showing a possum and their flying squirrel. And then the last picture that's down in the bottom left corner, it was not somebody else we asked, but we have all these giant microbes. I think some of y'all may have some of those as well. And we were like, what can we do with these? And Michelle had just recently bought the COVID little symbol there. So that's what's in the middle. And so we decided to do the plague dating show. So you had the host who was asking questions, and then the contestants. And that was another thing we cracked ourselves up on, trying to do different voices. But it was trying to highlight kind of things that sometimes might seem scary, or maybe they're not so scary, just kind of making a little bit more of a light humor again about things that can be a little depressing sometimes. So we put all this together. I don't think our attention, we didn't get quite as much attention to Scary Oozy as we did Snake Day. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I think for one thing, Snake Day is just generally one of our more popular events. We usually get 800 people out here, and Scary Oozy is usually one a couple of hundred people. So I think just in that, but we did have requests during Snake Day to have more live videos. So we did try to incorporate that a little bit more with the Scary Oozy Slimy Day, and people could tune in. Like I said earlier, we only have been able to use Facebook, but hopefully now that we have a YouTube channel, we will be able to incorporate that into some of our upcoming events this spring. One other thing that we tried is partnering with other organizations for the event. So we have one of our community centers that's part of our department. They were doing a baking class, and we decided to kind of go over and take a little bit of their video. We were going to try to do it live, and it was just going to be too complicated, but we took a few shots and we played it along with one of our failed it or nailed it. It's probably more failed it. We did a nailed it version of our own, trying to decorate nature cookies and things, but they had done something similar. So we tried to post together and help promote both of our events. That same day, the local solid waste department, they like to hold Vulture Day. And so we had kind of coordinated to work together to be able to cross promote between our different events and share, and also do things that might go along with each event. So they went up to Chattahoochee Nature Center outside of Atlanta, and they did a live animal encounter with the vultures there. And so we shared that video along with ours and promoted like when it was going to be on. And then we also did a roadkill cafe that was gross for our event, but also was very fitting with the scavengers for their event. So that's one of the ways we were trying to get different messages across, reach different audiences that we hadn't talked to before, and bring light to a few different things. So it was something different that we had not tried in some of our other previous events. So after a year, we can kind of look back at numbers, and I just kind of took some screenshots from our Facebook analytics. And before we ever shut down, so kind of March 2019 to December, you can see we very rarely did any kind of video. It was more of if it was a video, it wasn't us talking. It was more of oh, look at this cool animal moving around, or, here's, we're doing the prairie burn, look at it burn. So very little numbers, you can see very little views. And then compared to last year, that it's, major jumps. So we see that there's always going to be some aspect of virtual programming that we'll end up doing. But as people are tired of being on their computers or, just ready to be able to do things in person again, we will start to do more of those things, but we'll have some kind of virtual component that maybe during Snake Day, like we did a panel, we could do that virtually and have people who maybe couldn't come to the event, and we could show that during the event as well as having people on site. So we feel like this will be something that we'll figure out and how to incorporate as things open up more. We'll be able to do a little bit more, but there's always going to be some aspect of this that we're wanting to keep. So that's kind of where we are now. And, we started off, we didn't know what we were doing, but we found lots of other people who helped us and joined us. And maybe they didn't know what they were doing either, but they were able to kind of come out and we supported each other. So here's just a few of the logos. For Snake Day, that was really the first time that we had invited, outside guests to help us do anything. And they created these videos and sent them to us, and we were able to share that. And so I think in one way, it's also good to get some different faces on camera. So if you have a small staff like we do, you may get tired of seeing us sometimes. So it's a good way to get some other faces out there and get other people involved and, help promote the things that they're doing at their place as well. And so that's what I kind of wanted to lead into before we go into our breakout rooms, is to start thinking about how can we help each other? We have so many great resources here in the sunny Southeast that I know I've been watching. I follow a few of y'all's organizations and I like to see what's going on. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool idea. And I sometimes get ideas from what you're doing, but I also think, oh, that might be really cool to be able to work with them and be able to share things that are going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide into our breakout rooms. And let's see, Jessica, I can't tell how many people are on here at this time.
We have 25 right now, but that includes me and you.
Okay. So let's do maybe 4 groups. So if you're going to divide those up, if you can just we're just going to do it so it automatically does, but we'll just say 4 groups. Just a second. Yeah. So in just a minute, we'll do that. So before we split up and go into our rooms, so some of the things I want you to think about is, what do you have going on right now that maybe other people, it's maybe not doing anything together, but maybe they can help promote or share your event. Because think about, I take a couple hour car trip. I can go to South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, Florida pretty easily without being too far. So, hey, maybe I see something cool. Maybe I want to come check out your facility at some point in time when I'm out on a road trip. So think about that and maybe share some of the things you have coming up. Think about what you have coming up that maybe somebody could help you with. What are some things that others can help you participate? And then think about maybe what your facility has to offer that might be something interesting to another place. So maybe you live at the coast and say, hey, I'm willing to go out and do a beach walk for somebody if you're interested. So what can you offer that maybe other facilities could potentially use? And so before we break into our breakout rooms, I was going to let Michelle give you a quick overview of one that we had an idea of. And then after that, we will we'll hit join. So hopefully people didn't all go into their rooms yet. So, all right. So go ahead, Michelle.
So we actually have Women in Science coming up, and we're going to do a virtual Women in Science program, and we're pretty excited about that. But Kate and I were having so much fun with this one. So we've always wanted to do programs that try to get more adults involved, and we want to do a program where you get to drink, but we still have to figure out the logistics behind that for a county facility like us. But we were thinking that a good way to let people do this is that if we had a virtual adult program and we call it like a happy hour program, then the adults can sit at their homes and they can drink because, they're not here at the nature center. So they can drink and they can listen to us. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the sex life of animals. So and not just your traditional stuff, when the praying mantis bites the head off of the male and then eats the rest of his body, or the spider eats the male, or even the octopus. So I thought that, well, not just me, but Kate and I were thinking it would be so much fun to talk about the sex life of animals, the crazy sex life of animals. And while adults sit at home and they enjoy their adult beverages, and that's kind of the idea that we were thinking of. So if anybody would like to help us out with that, we are doing that program and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I would love to have some people join us for that. But that's one of our ideas. So that's the kind of stuff we're.
So, all right. Well, guys, we only have a couple of minutes left before, but I hope you had some great times in your breakout rooms, getting to talk with other people. I know that's one of the things I always enjoy most about our workshops is getting a chance to actually talk to other naturalists. And so I wanted to give people that opportunity during this session. So would anybody like to share anything that you talked about during the session that others might be interested in, or things that you might want help with that could be shared with the whole group?
I can share from breakout room number 2, just real quickly. A summary is the sharing of not just programming, but resources like photographs or video footage is super helpful that you could, cross share. Being mindful of copyrights, especially when you're reading a story and how you can do that. Knowing what your agency is comfortable with. So how far can you push your boundaries and limits of what you can do? And then organizing all your videos and things like that is really key. But something that was really cool is that our virtual aspect expands our reach to more resources and speakers. And also, if you do have one that costs a lot of money, maybe you can share the cost of that from different agencies. So it's just kind of a nice, just a lot of us were either teaching in a college setting or volunteering. So we didn't have any specific upcoming programs to share. I know my agency does some on Facebook or it's supported and they're free. And that would be an easy way to reach out to other resources or people as panelists.
All right, great. Thank you for sharing. Would anybody else like to share from their session? Don't be shy. Well, I will share one from our session that Jolie was mentioning that could be a good collaboration. She's wanting to do maybe a little bit more in-depth kind of nature talks or nature programs. And so she has a name for her idea. It's Conservation Conversations. And I was like, ooh, I like that. And so maybe she will be looking for some people to help with that and kind of do some more in-depth nature type programs. So I thought that was a good one. And we shared a lot of things that were going on in Columbia and Bernheim and North Carolina, and Myrtle Beach has done a Valentine's mating program. So I reach out to Jessica for some of her ideas for our happy hour as well. While I'm talking, I'll go ahead and just say this too. I'm going to put my email in Michelle's email in the chat to send to everybody. And if there's ideas that you want to kind of put out there for other people to potentially help with, go ahead and send me an email back. And what I'll do is kind of put a document together and I'll share that. And like I said, I'll make it a Google link so that other people can have access and say, oh, here's a way I can participate, and put your contact information so we can be able to work together. Before we go, did anybody else want to share from their breakout room?
So Patty is having a big bug fest that sounded like a lot of fun and could use some collaboration. So I don't know, when we share virtually these days, I'm sure people could share virtually. I know you're doing your bug fest in person though, correct?
We have in the past, Jan, done it in person, and I'm hoping we'll have at least some form of that this September, virtually. I'm not positive yet whether we'll be able to do that, but I'm thinking we should be able to hold at least a virtual something cool with bugs, because we always have a great bug fest with bug parade and bug zoo and eat a bug and all kinds of things like that. So we miss it, and yeah, would love anybody who really is excited about bugs. Thank you, Jen, for bringing that up. Anybody excited about bugs want to have a virtual presence with us, or maybe a physical presence. Again, I doubt we'll be doing a physical bug fest this year, but maybe a piece of it not be in person. And I also enjoyed the fact that, when we do these breakout rooms, you suddenly realize you're right across from, Lisa is right there down the road from us, a couple of hours away at the Audubon State Park. So, and I met Lisa years ago at our region Southeast in um, Claremont, when we hosted it. And so it's like, yeah, let's figure out something to work on, because we both have a lot of shared, we both have wildflower programs and bird programs and care about the same thing. So, and then just meeting people even from Puerto Rico who are investigating apps to use with kids, and yeah, it was good. It was really good to see what's going on out there.
Good. Thank you for sharing. Now, I do see we are at our end of our time. If anybody would like to stay on and discuss that for another minute or so, we're welcome to, but I don't want to hold everybody up since I do know it's the middle of the day. You're probably at work and trying to do things. So like I said, if you have some ideas of things you would like to work on together, feel free to email me or Michelle, and we'll try to share that information with others here in the Southeast, and we'll see what we can do, kind of get together. So thank you so much for joining us in our session today. I enjoyed seeing everybody, getting a chance to talk with you a little bit. And I hope that I can see you again next year in person if I don't get to see you a little bit before. So thank you guys.